It's surprisingly hard to find duplicate entries in a Notion database. In this case, I have this CRM that I made with a bunch of different names, but if you notice, there are two Michael Chens. I wish Notion had a property built in to identify whether, a customer name has been repeated twice. That way I can know whether this is a duplicate entry or not. Surprisingly, this isn't a native feature and doesn't exist yet, but there actually is a little workaround using relations, formulas, and automations to kind of solve this problem. So let's jump into it. The first thing we need to do is actually create a relation property. Let's click on the plus button here to create a new property, and we're going to click on relation. And now it's going to ask us, what do you want to relate this database to? I have this CRM database. In this case, we're going to do something weird and actually relate the CRM to itself. And I know that sounds kind of funky, but stick with me here. So we created this relation property, and if I were to click into it, you're going to be able to see all the entries of the very same database. The reason we're doing this is because we want to have access to all the other rows in this database. So in the case of John Smith, I want to relate John Smith with not only himself, but everyone else in this database. So I'm going to painstakingly kind of manually add everyone. Now you only have to do this once, but once you do it, you can actually click away. So there are 6 people related, and I can just use this drag vertically to fill column button and just drag it down. And that's going to duplicate all the values, right? And if I were to click into here, you'll see everyone is connected to everyone, which is a weird concept, but it's super useful if you want to find duplicates. And here's how we can do that. The next step is to use a formula property. So let's create a formula, and we can call this duplicate found. And what this is going to do, and what formulas allow us to do at a very high level, is essentially perform calculations on the row level, right? We do have this row, which is John Smith with his company and email, but we also have some related information here, which is the CRM. So what if we were to check whether John Smith exists in the CRM? Now, of course, we only have 6 entries here, so it's pretty obvious that we can see John Smith exists, but what if John Smith appeared twice or 3 times or even more? Then we would know there's a duplicate, and we're going to have that flag in the formula. So here's how it would work at the formula level. The first thing we're going to want to do is actually filter this related CRM array, this relation, this list of people, and we're going to use the filter function to do that. The filter function takes in 2 inputs. It takes in an array, and then the second thing is some type of condition, right? That's true or false, and then it spits out an array back depending on that condition. So the array we want to pass in this case is actually this related CRM. It's the list of people in our CRM. And what we're going to be checking now is what we said before. I want to know whether John Smith exists in this array. Now we can see already with 6 entries, John Smith does, but if we had 600 or 6,000, it will be a lot harder to see immediately. So we're going to use this funny little variable here called current to get what the current iteration is. And the way it works is John Smith is going to be, or this filter property is going to be iterating over this entire list. And based off current, we can kind of compare it against this original row here. So we have current dot, we're going to get the person's name, and I'm going to use the equality operator here to compare it against the row name, which is just over down here, the customer name. And I can save that, and you may already start to see some of the magic where John Smith produces John Smith, Sarah Johnson produces Sarah Johnson, but Michael Chen produces 2 Michael Chens, right? And with the duplicate Michael Chen entry, it's the same idea here. So if our goal is to get some type of flag to know whether this entry is a duplicate or not, well, we already see a difference. There is always going to be 1 entry here, and there's always going to be 2 or more entries for a duplicate. So how do we get it to spit that out? Well, we can use something like an if statement to figure that out. So why don't we start by getting the length of this array. So we can say length. And just like that, we have the number 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. And these, of course, are related to Michael Chen and the duplicate Michael Chen. And the last step is just to use an if statement to check whether this number that is produced is greater than 1 or not. And we can do that just by saying greater than 1 question mark, and that's going to start our if statement. And if it's true, if there is greater than 1, aka 2 or more duplicates found, well, I want to spit out something like duplicate found, and maybe we can do like a warning symbol. Otherwise, and we're going to use the colon to do that, we're going to say good to go. Perfect. And if I press save here, that's going to save my formula, and I can drag this to the very left side to see what this looks like. So you can see with Michael Chen, there's a duplicate found, and on the duplicate entry, you can say that as well. And that data still exists in the formula. So if we want to spit out who that duplicated entry is in terms of the page, we can actually do that as well. But we're going to keep it simple. So this kind of solves our problem at this scale of having the CRM, but what if we were to add more people? Well, with Notion automations, we can actually automatically add people to this property here. So why don't we try that? I want to make it so every time we create a new person in the CRM, it also adds them in the related CRM too. And of course, the other entries. So let's go ahead and do that. Click on automations. We can call this add person to relation. And we want to make it so anytime a page is added, right, a new entry is added to the database, what we're going to do is we're going to edit the pages in the same CRM database, and we're going to edit all pages. That's the key here. Let me remove that filter. We're going to edit all pages in that CRM, and what we're editing is going to be the related CRM page here. And instead of replacing with, we're going to add the page that is being added here, which is the person, the trigger page. And just like that, I can press enable, and we're good to go. Let's try it out. So we have Robert Wilson here. You can imagine if I click this button here and someone accidentally duplicates it or someone adds it manually, what's going to happen within a few seconds is this good to go field is going to become duplicate found. And of course, this works manually too. So if I were to do someone like Emma Davis, let's say we write Emma Davis, within a few seconds, you're going to see duplicate found gets updated as well. Hopefully that was useful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. But I found a cool little hack to find duplicates. Not sure if it's perfect, but it's a good path forward at least.